gas ourselves up, but we short on breath. Talking about we eating, but who we really cooking. Dreaming about greens, but ain't nobody looking. No land, no acres, no seeds in the ground. When the hunger hits, who's gonna be around? We starving every day, and it just ain't the food. Feeding the hood garbage, got 'em acting a fool. We flossing with rides, stunting with chains, but these bars we spitting just bring more pain. We guilty as hell, preaching all these lies, selling debt to the kids, and we acting surprised. We commercialize the pain, broadcast the grief, tell the youth to hustle, but hide the beef. We glorify the trap, invite them to the flames, just like Reagan brought the crack on planes. Back in the 80s when the streets got soaked, my people, my brothers, all got choked. Reagan said no trades, but we know the deal. He left us in the dirt, man, that shit was real. I was just a shorty watching it unfold, old enough to see how we got sold. War on drugs, but it was war on us. Cops on our necks, no love, no trust. They labeled us thugs, beast on the block, made us kiss the pavement while they cleaned our clock. Prison became business thanks to Reagan's game. Free labor is the truth in America's name. Slavery's dead, man. That's just a word. Read the 13th Amendment. It's still absurd. They lock us in cages, serving time for life. Double digits for wisdom, cutting sharp like a knife. I'm here to say, the chains in the air, it's time we break free, start showing we care. No more flexing for nothing, no more selling out. It's time to rise up, time to end.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Monday morning. You already know how I do independent music. And this morning I have Don Tripp, Eddie Valero, Real Friends, and we'll be right back right after this.
Damn, Justin.
All money ain't good money. Good news is it still spin. Ulysses Grant and Ben Franklin, I call them my real friends. Big faces like Lil' Kim. Money dirty as a big pen. I woke up and I'm still free. To a real nigga, that's a win-win.
Button up like a church shirt, put the black box on the gin. Fully hanging out the fin. Young niggas, they spin. New set cost a bill 10. Truckload, get them wheeled in. Price shopping, need 8 more, throw some lows in it, get it filled in.
And the Carmen got the switch built in. Too late to start talking peace. Shoot that bitch with your eye closed, you gon' fuck around and get right to sleep. Patience thin, but my pockets deep. My letters softer than a flock of sheep. Rap game ain't worth shit, but I still got it under lock and key.
Trip humble, nigga, I'm not. Real life, I'm a shit popper. 3 chains, 2 bracelets, plus an AP. Had to get my kid proper. None average shit overlit. This the lifestyle of a brick copper. Jumping out, my laces loose. 4 deep like 6 choppers.
Yeah, I bet I bubble like dishwater. More money, no bitch problems. Tryna wipe my own back, got a nigga cross-eyed like Big Papa. Send the L. Ashfield College, shake and bake like Ricky Bobby. Homeboy ain't changed, still got the cane on him like a Christmas party.
I can't lie, this shit retarded. Perp habit, drop a high deuce. Bitch a hitter like Clarissa Shields, could play the cut like I'm Papoose.
My little nigga spinning like Ryu. Point him out of here, clip him for me. Oh yes, I'm with the shit. They done gave the wrong niggas money. Still don't give any fuss, but now it's gotta be old news. My wife got me in Saks Fifth, now a nigga fresher than the Whole Foods.
Yeah, I seen you in the adventure coat. Popped out clean as rinsing soap. East side in the mound, nigga, when this tape drop, get a trenches hoe.
Spending money, let them press some more. Ball hard to the whistle blow. Making sure we all eat, bitch and feed Ruth Christian, my 10-year-old.
Still on bullshit when the tension low. Fuck that, get a lynching rope. White shit on the top, still see the brown, look like an inch of snow.
Long little pill.
That was Don Tripp, Eddie Valero, Real Friends. I want to start off this morning with something from a news special about life on crack in Minneapolis in 1985. And this is where I just wanted to start. This is not something that I planned or anything, but since I do talk about Minnesota and I grew up in Minneapolis, I thought it would be Not many people, because I'm sure not many people in Minneapolis City Council are from Minnesota or even from Minneapolis, state legislators. So it's always good to see back where that foundation was rooted. That's when a lot of this foundation was built. And that's why it's so shitty, is because what people don't understand is if you have a rotten foundation, how are not the seeds of that going to be the same? So it's easy. I think it's a real eye opener to show people how Minneapolis was and then how Minneapolis is now, because you can see why Minneapolis is the way it is when you look at the Holloman lawsuit, when you look at what they did to Sumner Projects, what they did after the tornadoes, CSI. There's so much. You know what I'm saying? So unless we actually go back and start taking a look at that and seeing like, hey, we were fucked up then, and that's why it's still fucked up now, is because we never corrected it. We always either put a Band-Aid or gave an organization or some type of that community a token. It's never actually been solved. It's just been, I'll say, a Band-Aid put over it. And now I think it's time that we rip that Band-Aid off and let's get to the core of the issues. Let's get to it. Because how are we going to make solutions if we don't understand where it originated from? So I'll go here. This is Life on Crack, Minneapolis, 1980. I guess not 85, my bad, 88. So I was 11 at this time.
Lots of people standing around outside. But then it's the middle of a hot summer. They wave at motorists, and often the motorists stop to talk. A lot of children. It's like a Norman Rockwell picture, exaggerated. But look closer. Some of the people wander from house to house to house, as though they live everywhere and nowhere. They seem aimless, but serious about it. Day after day, the pictures stay the same, but the people keep changing. Different young men and women wander from house to house. All of them young. Where are the old people? And some of the friendly curbside hellos are not that at all. What we were seeing in July and August from windows on both sides of 4th Avenue was a neighborhood occupied by drug dealers. The children had a crack market for a playground. For a role model, they had this man.
See, and that's what everybody, it's 2026 and we're still talking about open drug markets. This is filmed in 1988 and they're still talking about open drug markets. We haven't fixed it. That's what I don't understand, is like how, because people don't know the history of Minneapolis. And when you don't know the history of Minneapolis, we have a lot of transplants. So a lot of the history, a lot of that foundation is crumbling and they're trying to rebuild that foundation, but they can't. How can you rebuild something if you don't have an understanding of how it was built?
Showing off fat rolls of drug money. Or the man who finished off a Saturday evening of drug dealing by riding away in a stretch limo, tossing what appeared to be money to his admirers. Only part of the drama was played in the street. There was more indoors. We drilled a peephole in the door of our apartment and had a view of the hall just inside the front door. There, shielded from the view of passing police, the trade in crack was even more blatant. No one you see here lived in this building, except the Indian child. His family lived upstairs. They resented their building being used as a crack house.
You guys just can't do that no more, okay? Doing that. Stay out of our house here. Okay. All right? You guys don't even live here, okay?
Hey, would you let me talk to him?
I live right upstairs there, man.
Okay, would you let me talk to him?
Well, stop up. Talk to him outside then. Talk to him outside. Talk to him outside then, man. Give you one chance to get out here.
This transaction wasn't for crack, but for merchandise. It looked like a fur coat.
How much?
This deal was for crack.
You got 20? I set you straight now. Good. But see, this ain't to be me, you know. So you know, this is my homeboy. So I set you straight. I give you a choice. 3 big bowls. Take your choice. 3 big bowls.
In August, the building's caretaker installed new locks, and the pushers found themselves back on the street among the children.
They don't have no respect for nobody on this block, none whatsoever. They invade everybody's privacy. They don't care about the older people or the kids. Only thing they really care about is the hit and the money. They don't care about your feelings, my feelings, nobody else. Nobody else rights. They just, hey, I'm doing this and this is what I want. I don't care who it hurt or nothing.
We tried to learn who the people are that hang around 4th Avenue. Where are they from? What draws them to this street? It was like trying to interview a flock of birds.
I don't even live on this street.
You live around here?
No, I don't. You live around here? I don't even live around here.
You live here? No one around here? No one lives here.
No one lives here.
Why do you suppose that is?
I don't know.
Everyone who's here lives somewhere else.
This is a nice street, you know. A lot of people know people.
It is a nice street?
Well, you know, except for them crazy people that shoot and stuff, it'd be all right.
How about the people selling drugs?
I don't know nothing about that either. Trying to find me a woman.
Where are you from?
Cuba?
This is Pedro Cariachi. He lives with a friend 1 block away, but hangs around 4th Avenue. He's famous here for trying to sell soap to people who think it's crack. One resident called him the Soap King and said he gets beat up for it regularly. Today is a slow day.
Like you know, man. No money in my pocket. Broke. Hey, my friend.
I hear that this is a place to come if you want to buy crack.
Well, you're kind of right about that. See, people, you know, it's like, once they got started, you know, it's like kind of hard to, you know, stop people from coming over here.
Yeah? Who is it? Where do they come from? Really? We'd seen Lindsay Harmon day after day going in and out of at least 4 houses, selling what appeared to be crack and smoking it. He apparently has no permanent home. This conversation was 2 days after Harmon had seen a man shot nearby. He said the victim had sold someone some soap.
I just hang out because, you know, you got a lot of friends around here.
Yeah.
You know, and they give you money or, you know, if you want to hit or something, they give you, you know.
A hit of cocaine?
Yeah.
Harmon insisted he isn't hooked on the drug and doesn't commit any crimes to pay for his cocaine use. But on July 20th, police arrested Harmon and a juvenile on suspicion they'd tried to sell a woman some crack, then grabbed her purse and ran.
You might take everybody out here to jail now. Take everybody out of jail, and a new group will come. And then take all them to jail, and then a new group will come. And then take all them. I don't know. All I can see is,
Why do they come here?
Because a lot of people come on the street looking for that stuff. They can stop the cars from coming on the street. And then it'll be a different thing, you know. But you can't stop the cars. As long as you don't stop the cars, you ain't gonna stop the stuff, you know. As long as the car put up and say, we want this, they gonna get it.
So because they have a reputation of being a crack street, it brings the crack dealers?
No, it brings the cars.
Yeah.
The cars what makes the crack dealers come.
So the cars bring the dealers, and the dealers bring the cars. Supply and demand. Of course, there's more to it than that. There's all the rental property in the block with landlords not there to control who goes in and out of their building. There's a history of benign neglect by the city.
You know, this is from 1988. 1988 Minneapolis, and they're still talking about the same things in 2026 of how can we nip the drugs, the open drug market, the people not taking care of abandoned properties like the landlords. We're still dealing with that. Look at, the crazy thing is, what I want people to is look at Heritage Park, right? Because before it was Heritage Park, you had the Sumner projects, right? Then came Holloman, the Holloman lawsuit. Not enough people know about that. There is not enough Minneapolis people that actually know about the Holloman lawsuit or even the consent decree that they were in. Nothing's changed. There was so much. This is the one thing that I found really like eye-opening, was looking through Ron Edwards when he was talking about housing, talking about the Holloman lawsuit, talking about all the fraudulent shit that had to do with the Urban League, with the NAACP, and how people were fattening their pockets, but not making sure that the community was okay, not making sure that the community was straight. So I think we have to go back, and I'm not saying we have to understand why the problems are the way they are now. Because all this shit is by design. All this shit is by design. And it's the fact that the older generation wasn't paying attention. Or maybe they were, I don't know. I know it wasn't easy living with a single mother, trying to raise 3 kids on her own. So I get it, right? I've seen what my mother went through. I've seen what my sister went through. Even some of the women that I've been through and the journeys that they've had in their lives of getting to where they are now. Everybody's got a past. Everybody. And how do we nip that in the bud from breaking that generational curse? That's what I want people to think about, is this shit is generational. Doesn't matter if it's wealth. Doesn't matter if it's trauma. A lot of this shit is generational, and that's the conversation that people don't want to talk about. This right here is Dr. Claude Anderson, blocked opportunities, and the strategies stalled behind progress. So with that being said, let me get into this. It's about 21 minutes long. I'll try to play it all the way through without commenting. Guess we'll see.
This is a special channel, unlike any other channel. We're not a fake channel. When the Bible says things that you're admonished to do is to first get knowledge, but more importantly, get understanding. When you come to this channel, you get some of both. We give you everything you need to know about race matters, from the history in the old days, 460 years ago, up until the present time, where daily events appear in the newspaper and on television. Come here and get it straight. There's no drinking like alcohol with fake fillers in it. You get it straight without the fillers. And but again, I have to tell you, we say nothing that we hopefully would be race-based. We try to simply tell the truth as we know it. So come here to this channel and get the real scoop on the YouTube channel, Connecting the Dots with Dr. Claude Anderson. Now today, we're going to talk about something I think is very important to you, but there's so much to say about it that I'm going to put it into 2 parts. Let's start off with part 1. And I'm going to give you about at least 10 to 20 things that are very important to Black folks to know in solving race matters. These are the devices used to maintain the racial status quo in this country. So let's get about it. Let's start with the first thing. What's the first thing they do to make sure that Black folk stay in an underclass position, just as you were doing slavery and Jim Crow semi-slavery? Give me the number one thing they would do. First thing they would do is this. They always use very broad and ambiguous headings or terms to confuse Black folk, to mislead them, to misdirect them, so they won't know what's going on. Now, this is not an accident. This was first created and used and implemented in 1789, when they were drafting the United States Constitution. And they met up in Philadelphia and said, we're going to craft a constitution, and but what we're going to do is create a new democracy. We're going to attract people from around the world to come here for new opportunities and new freedoms and new rights. But to do that, we got a problem. How we're going to do that at the same time our purpose is in building this country is to use Black people and their labor to do it. if we craft a constitution that says we are the cradle of democracy, wouldn't we be hypocritical if we say we're going to build a nation with freedom and opportunities for everyone, at the same time we're preparing ourselves to enslave millions of black folk? And so what they did in the Philadelphia meeting, they closed the doors, pulled the shades, put guards on the doors, and said, we got to come up with a scheme on how we're going to best do this. And finally, after a week of talking, discussing, debating the issue about how to craft a constitution, the first constitution of the United States, at the same time, use it as a basis for enriching immigrants coming to America. How are they going to do that? They said, here's what we'll do. In the Constitution, we use two kinds of language. We'll have some terms, broad terms we use that specify and particular to whites. We use other terms that will be specifically designed to identify blacks or the black slaves. That's what into the Constitution. And then if you read the Constitution, most people don't understand that ambiguous language and broad terms and how they're being used to maintain race matters. That's the first device they use. So what they would say in the Constitution, it says things like this: we the people. When they talk about we the people in the Constitution, that signifies it's for white people. When they say all the people, they're talking about white people. When they say American citizens, they're talking about whites. When they say all people got a God-given right, they're talking about whites. And when they get to black folk, they have different language. And how was the language spelled out? They use very broad and ambiguous terms like this. When they say, well, let's talk about black folk, what we say is that those who are indebted, those who are in bondage, those who are property, those who are 3/5 of a human being, those who are non-citizens, those that specific kind of property, and those who are equal to a field animal, and those who are 3/5, as I said, those individuals they're talking about are black people. They're slaves, but it's so smoothly put into the Constitution that most people don't pick it up, and that's why in our civil rights movement in the 1960s, and I heard blacks out saying, we got our constitutional rights, and we are here to ask this country to deliver on those rights that were spelled out in the United States Constitution. The United States Constitution didn't spell out any rights for black folk. It was strictly solely for whites.
Right.
And but I want you to understand that those broad ambiguous terms were put into the first Constitution, and they did the same thing when they wrote the second Constitution. The second Constitution came out of the 1857 Dred Scott decision, which says a black man has no rights that a white man is bound to respect. And but they used that language again and said when they wrote the second Constitution in 1861, because to pick up where the Dred Scott decision left off. When slavery had ended, you had a few very liberal white congressmen or radical white Republicans who says, we got to do something for black folk. And so we're going to write a second part of that Constitution, because the first Constitution was covered by amendments 1 through 12. Let's write an additional Constitution, let's call it 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, and civil rights laws. They wrote those specifically and solely for black folk. But in doing that, they tried their best to try to broaden those terms, analyze those broad terms that were in the first Constitution and be more specific. And they put some of them in that 13th, and 14th, and 15th Amendment. And they did still use a few broad terms because the radical, non-radical Republicans were opposed to them trying to free black folk, because you see the South needed black folks again to re-enslave them in the South under peonage and Jim Crow segregation. But they wrote the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment and the civil rights laws using those sort of semi-broad terms. But then later on, the Supreme Court then justified making those things even broaden them even more by saying, yes, those amendments was in there, but don't worry about it. It's for everybody. And the rule in politics is anything that's for everybody is not for anybody. So whenever you hear anybody in politics and economics in our race-based society using very broad, ambiguous terms like minorities, poor folk, people of color, multicultural, diversity, they are using terms to make sure that nothing happens specifically.
You know, I think people need to pay attention to what he's saying, because they base it so they don't have to do anything at the end of the day. It's just a runaround and it's a bunch of people with their head cut off, right? And we still fall for it. I don't get why we do, but we do. And I think it's because our leaders, gatekeepers, whatever you want to call them, activists, they don't care about the people. It's all come about money and egos. It's not about change. And that's what people don't even, they fail to realize. And if you look at the bigger picture, you can realize that wrong is wrong and right is right.
It's only for black folk. They use those terms to keep black folk down and to keep them out. So anytime any politician in economic programs or policies or in political policies use those very broad, ambiguous terms without being specific about correcting the dilemmas of black folk in America, you're being sandbagged.
Right.
Do not, and you tell them, no, we're not going for that. Anything that's coming down the road for black folk must be very specific. Do not let them use the old game that they use in the Philadelphia Convention by using these very broad, ambiguous terms. You say it's like a fish. You fillet it, open it up, and say, what's inside of minorities? What is a minority? Open it up, let's see what's inside of it. Or what's in people? How can black folk be people of color? Make them be specific.
Right.
And don't accept those very broad, ambiguous terms. That's the first advice they use to make sure nothing changed for black folk in the country and stay just as it was in slavery and in Jim Crow semi-slavery. What's the second thing they use to maintain the status quo in black? Second term, they use this whole myth about a colorblind society. There is no such thing as a colorblind society. That term was never used until about 1896 in the Plessy v. Ferguson decision with the United States Supreme Court. And they used it, that was the first time that word people of color was used, or being colorblind. And so they tried to use that to try to justify, again, not doing anything specifically for black folk. But one of the members of the Supreme Court, Justice Harum, says that this nation should be a colorblind society. And but that was just a hypothetical situation he was proposing. Everybody knew that this country is always very color specific.
Right.
Always color specific. They knew exactly who they were enslaving. They knew what color they were when they enslaved them. They knew they were blacks, but somehow they convinced black folk to say, be colorblind, pretend that you can't see color. And that way you'll never solve the problems, because they knew what color they used to enslave you. They got to know what color to use and pick and choose when coming out. But black folk go for it. So consequently, that is a device that's regularly used in all levels of media to keep black folk in the status quo position of being an underclass. Another third thing they use is they try to also capture and push back, take away your black leadership. In America right now in 2019, we have absolutely no black leadership of any substance. We had a few doing history, starting off initially. We had a few activists way back in the early 1800s and a few in the 1700s, but they were just activists. There wasn't that many of them. In the 1800s, we got a few visible blacks, supposed to be black leaders, about 1818, 1890s, when the evangelical movement went through this country in religion. Whites said, well, we have a few blacks ministers. We'll choose them, let them be black leaders, and let them go to church. But also when they go to church and those black ministers start talking or preaching, we got to make sure a white person is present, make sure he doesn't do anything that's misleading to those black folk, where they trying to direct them out of slavery or being free. And so,
and that's the one thing that I have learned since 2020 is how in faith-based initiatives, everybody's telling us to watch FBI, but we weren't watching the faith-based initiatives because that's what allowed the government to come into the black church and fuck us over, right? Because it looks like they're helping, but at the end of the day, it's all wish-wash. It's all sucker shit, and it's all these motherfuckers that have been paid off, but yet we don't say nothing. And I think that is really the conflicting part, right? So, but here you go back with blocked opportunities.
So those ministers came into effect starting about 1819, but their primary purpose was to mislead and contain black folk and to preach black folk about pie in the sky after death, and to be good, hard-working slaves and to not expect anything on this earth, wait until death and get it then. And so those black ministers were leaders, even though they didn't have any education. They didn't understand race matters. But they were still black leaders up from about 1818 up to about after the Civil War. Now, after the Civil War, when blacks got the right to vote, then now they could vote a few black officials in. They voted in about 16 blacks in the Congress, and secondly, any blacks that got appointed in positions like sheriffs or working for the post office, they became black leaders in the community. And so we had a new kind of black leadership then. This kind of public leadership on the public payrolls and public eyes, they sort of minimized the role of the black ministers and became leaders. But that went on for a while. But then whites started pushing back, saying, if we can't control blacks with the leadership we appoint for them, the leadership we allow to be elected or appointed to a public office, we'll start eliminating blacks. And that's why blacks that tried to be leaders, they were always eliminated. That's why Marcus Garvey got wiped out trying to be a black leader. Later on, you had Malcolm X got wiped out trying to be a black leader. Martin Luther King got assassinated trying to be a black leader. So any black that they could not control, they would wipe him out physically through assassinations or eliminations. And last, but they had another trick where they said, let's just simply control them. What we'll do, we capture any black that has the potential of being a leader. What we do, we'll co-opt them and offer them meritorious manumission, put them in a major white corporation, a high-level position, or appoint them to Congress with the understanding, as they did in the 1870s, which says if you come to a public office, 3 things you cannot talk about if you're a black elected official or you're holding a public office. You cannot come to this office talking about anything pertaining strictly and solely to black people, point 1. Point 2, you cannot talk about group issues and focus on blacks as a group. And thirdly, you cannot talk about ways and holding white folk accountable for 360 years of slavery in the 1870s, or nowadays in 2019, holding them accountable for reparations. So those are the 3 techniques they use and devices they use to eliminate black leadership and make them disappear. So after the 1960 civil rights movement, black folk got co-opted. The entire cadre of black leadership got co-opted, and they were taught to give up, encouraged to give up, saying, give in to the facts and realities of white racism and join us on a new concept called benign neglect or political correctness, which means take the focus off that you would have been put on black folk, put it on other groups, put it on minorities, those broad terms again, women, gays, transsexuals, anything but black folk. And so consequently, black leadership disappeared. Another technique they use quite frequently is to try to corrupt the Second Amendment and use that against black folk, which says again that gun control. So the Second Amendment went into effect because they were controlling blacks with physically by whites having laws in effect that says basically that only whites can carry weapons and tools or any kind of fighting or defensive tactic or instrument. And so starting about 1643, it passed laws saying that black folk are going to be slaves. You cannot have weapons. You cannot have any tools. You cannot have signaling murals. And then again, it was ratified again in about 1672, where it said every colony was passed laws saying that, called a Second Amendment, that would say that every white person, a white male between the ages of 18 and 42, must carry arms at all times. For what reason? To maintain slavery, to keep blacks under control. That was called the Second Amendment of the Constitution. It was designed strictly and solely to maintain slavery and arm all whites, but yet at the same time say that no black can carry an arm or have a weapon at any time to resist being enslaved. That's in the Second Amendment of the Constitution. It's still popular even today. Now that everybody debates this question about gun control, and at the same time they're talking about gun control, you got to understand, out of about 367 million rifles and handguns in America, most 99.5% are owned by whites.
Right.
We finally moved from California to Minnesota, and it was the best decision we ever made.
Right.
Except for one thing. I'll get to that part in a second because it almost ruined everything.
The truth, the truth, the truth. The truth, the truth, the truth.
9.5% of all the weapons. They produce all the weapons. They have all the bullets. They also have all the rifles, gun stores, and rifle and guns, weapons sales in the country. They own all the shooting ranges, and with the few handguns that black folk have, most of these cities are urged to do what? Tell black folk in those cities, go out and turn in your weapons and get a bag of groceries. If you got any guns, turn them in, because you black folk are shooting other blacks, and the way we're going to help you all is to urge you to turn in your guns, and we'll give you a bag of groceries. That goes on quite frequently in major urban areas across America, but they've never done that for whites. When you go into a typical white home in the South, you might find 15 or 20 rifles and 2 or 3 handguns, and but nobody ever put out a program in the rural areas of America and in the white country saying, we'll give you a sack of groceries if you turn in your weapons and eliminate any opportunities for people to be killed or to kill other people using the weapons or handguns or rifles. That's another way of controlling black folk, an advice that's used to keep them separated and keep them harmless, and that way keep them under control. That device is again called using the 14th Amendment, the Second Amendment of the Constitution to control them by threats that they know that whites are prepared, that in case of a race war, that black folk are totally unarmed and totally ill-prepared to defend themselves in a race war in the United States. They know that. That's why black folk will never find gun stores or gun shops in a black neighborhood. And everybody's going to try to strip blacks of their weapons so that they will be totally ill-prepared to defend themselves in case of a race riot or a race war. So that technique is another way of maintaining the racial status quo in America. Another technique they use is always fabricate minorities. And so that when any program comes out that could possibly benefit blacks, whether it could have been the New Deal of the 1930s or the Great Society program in the 1960s or any program that comes out, first thing I do is say that the program can't be specifically for black folk. It's got to be for everybody. You say, what's everybody? Well, what we're going to do now is that rather than it used to be just black, whites, let's magnify that so that anybody who's been discriminated against is eligible to receive any benefits that black folk could have received. And so what they do to fabricate all these minorities. So now everybody can be equal to black folk, not based on racism, but based on another thing they use called discrimination, and somehow make discrimination equal to racism, which there's no way it can be. Discrimination is a natural human process. Anybody can discriminate. Everybody must discriminate to be able to exist and interact with their environment and with the general society. You discriminate in what kind of ice cream you're going to buy, what kind of clothes you're going to buy, what kind of car you want to buy. Everybody discriminates. And yet I see on a regular basis some kind of admonishment in the media saying we got to eradicate all forms of discrimination. That is totally, absolutely insane and impossible. You cannot eradicate discrimination because every human being must be capable of discriminating to make decisions. But they use that technique, and that way black people get confused because they don't understand what's going on when you equate racism with discrimination. Those two things have nothing in the world to do with each other. But black folk have yet to understand fully what racism is. And in our future conversation, what we're going to talk about, I'm going to go back and give you the history of racism and show you the difference between discrimination and racism. But what people are telling you nowadays is that there's no difference, that discrimination is the same as racism, that bias is the same as racism, that being opposition or not liking somebody is racism. Those things have nothing in the world to do with racism. We're going to talk about it in part 2 on our program. I'm going to have to stop at this point, and this is part 1, but I got a whole bunch of other devices to talk about with you, and we come back next week. Come back and join me on this YouTube, and let's finish up. I probably only got through about 3 or 4 today. I'm going to probably bring up about 19 or 20 things that they're using to make sure that nothing changes for black folk in America. That's why in this country, you're in exactly the same position you were in 1861. You are now a permanent underclass. And where you used to be second-class citizens, that a massive, unending influx of immigrants in this country has pushed you from being a second-class citizens down to third-class citizens. And in about another 4 or 5 years, Arabs and Middle Eastern are going to get together with Asians, and they're going to push you from being third-class citizens down to fourth-class citizens. That way, you're going to still be in the same construct at the bottom. All these devices that we use to keep you where you are, which is totally dependent on other people, especially the dominant white society, for your daily needs, your daily food and substance. But we're going to talk about that as we move on. But this was part one. We're going to go through part two and maybe even part three to get through all these points I'm going to make about the devices that a company use to make sure Black folks stay a subordinated, exploited, dependent group of people in America that anybody can enrich themselves and use them to elevate their race, their culture, their language, and their gender above Black folk. I thank you and have a good evening.
That is very, 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 very interesting. And I do think that it's something that we need to have a very candid conversation about is, were these things that we thought were better Black people actually set us further back? And were they behind stalled progress? I guess that's something that we really need to really have a conversation about and get to because unless we get to the beginnings, to the core of the issue, we're never going to solve the problem. It's even like with this, right? This is about we're talking about fraud. And this is the Minnesota Promise Act. Over and over and over again, politicians, especially when it comes to Democrats, have told us that we were lying, that there was none, that there's, you know what I'm saying? Like that we were being lied to. And I think really at the end of the day, that is something that really should be a problem. A lot of Democrats, with a lot of people in the Twin Cities, and especially when it comes to people over in the North Side, they should want to have conversations about this. So I want to get into the Minnesota Promise Act. We've been talking about this before. This isn't the first time. I told Republicans back in 2022, when I showed them the presentation, they were all gung-ho for it and they were behind it, but we never see anything come out of it. So with that being said, here we go with the state is now clawing back grant money following reports from 5 investigates.
KSTP has been wrong and they continue to be wrong.
Well, I've got an update. Now the state says we were not wrong. That is Senator Bobby Joe Champion talking about a $100 million program he helped create and we keep reporting on that he doesn't like. I'm Ryan with 5 Investigates, and you may be wondering, why am I standing outside of a post office? And let me explain. This is the address that a trucking company used to apply for a $16,000 state grant. This is where he said he operated his business out of. A post office. What's more is he didn't even finish the grant application and he still got the money. Well, after our reporting, now the state is trying to claw that money back, and it's not the only one.
Minnesotans work hard for their tax dollars and they expect their money to go where it's supposed to go.
It's all you. Have a good day. So what do you think of the vetting process for the Minnesota Promise Act? Truly, I want to know. Comment and follow me for more updates. And by the way, if you work for the state and you have these applications, I would love to see them to do some more vetting.
And that's the crazy part. We were told over and over again that there was no fraud in that Minnesota Promise Act. And yes, there was. And I think that is the bad part about all of this. This is, to me, this just shows to me that Democrats, progressives, socialists do not care about poor Minnesotans, because I'll tell you like this, with the taxes that poor people do pay, with the lower, when it comes to the lower class, and we can't even get those services when we need them, that's a problem. And we're always, especially when it comes to black people, and that's what they can't. I don't know. Every time somebody tries to say they're black owned, okay, what is black owned to you? Because when you say that, I'm thinking that you're a Black American owned. You're not and I have nothing against Jamaicans, Haitians, Africans, none of that. But when it comes to black, we have a whole different type of history. We have a whole different type of culture, ethnicity, all that. We don't have the same upbringing. But again, we get bunched in because of BIPOC, or person of color, POC, or we get bunched into all different types of shit, minorities. It's just sad. And yet we have black churches, black leaders, and even so-called allies who tell black people that this is a good thing when it's actually really not.
Away money like this. Tonight, more red flags in a $100 million state grant program intended for small businesses.
5 Investigates first uncovered problems in this taxpayer-funded program in March. And our Ryan Raish isn't done. Ryan, what did you find this time?
Yeah, guys, we were talking about the Minnesota Promise Act, and every time we dig in, we find something new. Remember, this money is intended to help businesses recover from civil unrest, discrimination, or other barriers to funding. I want to be clear, again, nobody has been charged with fraud, but now I'm finding recipients that may not have even been eligible.
Hurry up and apply for that.
The recruitment campaign made a compelling pitch.
Don't let this opportunity pass you by.
If your business is struggling, up to 50 grand could be yours. When we first scrutinized the Minnesota Promise Act, lawmakers defended it.
Because guess what? We know that there's no fraud.
One of the most basic rules to qualify for a promise.
And that's the saddest part, how Bobby Joe Champion got on national TV news and told people that there was no fraud concerns. That there was not even concerns, that there was no fraud happening in that program, and yet he lied to us. When is North Minneapolis going to stand up and say enough is enough? Doesn't matter if it comes down to veto. And here's the thing, right? I'm not saying that they're just not good for black people. I'm not saying that they're bad people when it comes to veto, even when it comes to Pearl Warren, the shit that she's doing. But is it really helping black people? Because at the end of the day, you have $100,000 salary. While people, this is the one crazy part that I don't understand, is these people say they fight for us, but aren't even in that situation. Have never even been in that situation. So that's one thing that I don't understand.
Grant, prove your business operates in one of these shaded neighborhoods, like here on Lake Street. And it makes sense. This is one of the hardest hit neighborhoods during the 2020 protests and riots. But Bloomington? That's miles away from qualifying. We are still waiting for the state to turn over the actual grant applications. So we had to lean on tax forms, public databases, court records, mortgage documents, parking tickets, and...
So that's not even it.
Old-fashioned shoe leather. Do you think someone's using your address? So let's start with Paradise Assisted Living, located in Bloomington. State records show the business is operating 10 miles outside an eligible neighborhood since at least early 2022. So we've been asking, how did they qualify for a $21,000 grant? All right. I guess they're no longer around. I went looking for the owner, Abdisalam Ahmed. We called his business, his cell, texted, and went looking.
I'm trying to reach Mr. Ahmed.
He's not here.
I'm with Channel 5 KSTP. Can we?
And no luck at his home he recently built in Lakeville either.
We just wanted to talk to him about with the assisted living and the Minnesota Promise Grant.
I don't think he's a public speaking person, so I'm sorry, but he's not here.
Okay.
So far, no response from Ahmed, which was a common theme. CCG Cargo, a transportation company, seems to have used an address at a multi-tenant building on Lake Street.
I just talked to the owner. They have no record of CCG Cargo.
So I called the recipient of the nearly $11,000 grant. I'm just trying to understand the business. He hung up. Another transportation company, MS Caddy, received more than 16 grand, but hasn't been registered with the state in years. DOT records show the carrier is out of service. It's been out of service since 2021 for failing to pay a safety-related fine. How did that happen?
Governor Walz ought to say stop for a minute. Stop any more going out. We have to check into what's going on. There's no reason why this should not be just immediately suspended.
State Representative Dave Baker chairs the House Jobs Committee. Earlier this year, he pressed for answers after 5 investigates first uncovered a list of questionable promise grant recipients.
This was not vetted properly 2 years ago.
This should be embarrassing, and it should enrage many taxpayers about how did all this money get out with such low accountability.
The group in charge of most of the vetting, the Neighborhood Development Center, made the ease of sign-up part of its pitch.
So this isn't meant to be a super complicated grant program. So you're not going to have to write a life story and a narrative about why you're eligible.
NDC respectfully declined all 3 of my interview requests. The president told me, quote, "We are applying what we learned from round 1 to the reviews of applicants in round 2. DEED, the state agency providing the oversight, has ignored my interview requests, so I approached the commissioner at a recent event.
Can we grab you for 2 minutes, Commissioner?
I got to go through my team first.
All right, because we've been waiting for several weeks just for some answers on these red flags that we've been finding.
Later that day, no answers to our weeks-old questions about how those businesses qualified, but a statement. DEED takes program integrity very seriously, and we are fully working with our grantee, the Neighborhood Development Center, on reviewing information about the 4 entities you noted. And just in the last hour, DEED sent over a news statement reaffirming they are taking my questions seriously, and if they find any misuse of funds, they will take immediate action to recover them. Now, after our first series of reports last month, DEED turned in its mandated report on this program to the legislature. And there's an entire section on fraud and fraud prevention. One line caught my eye, quote, "The agency is also bringing in new technologies to add extra layers of investigative tools to confirm the identities and business information of promise grant applicants." And in all my interactions with DEED, that's the first I've heard of some new tools to fight fraud in this program.
Again, nobody's been charged with fraud yet.
No charges right now.
Any idea how many of these grants have been issued?
Yeah, so in the Twin Cities alone, there have been 900 promise grants handed out, totaling more than $14 million. But there is a ways to go here. So we're in round 2. Money is still going out the door.
Wow. This is something that should be really, really scrutinized. And it has been, but it should be really scrutinized from the so-called leftist or democratic or whatever you want to call it. Should take it serious. And they're not. Because they get up on national TV and lie. And get up in front of national media and lie to the people. And we still vote them in. We still vote lying, fucking dirty fucking liars in. I won't understand it. I can't understand that. And I'm going to say this again, make it make sense, because we can't. You can't make this shit make sense at all. At all when it comes to this, because why are we not holding people accountable? Why are we, if people really want unity, why are we not holding these people accountable? Black churches, black leaders, elected officials, because they get up here and they lie to us. And yet we believe them. And yet we believe them. I don't understand it. So, I mean, even when it comes to this, the flock cameras, right? Because that's what I'm about to talk about next. Is there such a big discussion going on right now when it comes to the technology? The flock cameras are being used in wrong ways, even by the people who are paid to protect and serve, are using it wrong. They're using it illegally. And we're not holding them accountable. What are we going to do to hold people accountable when it comes to the drones, when it comes to the flock cameras? Because a lot of these things infringe on our public rights. On our public right, I shouldn't say public rights, but on our rights. There's things going on that we don't even really realize. And that to me is really, really shows a lot. It really shows a lot on how people are brainwashed to think a certain way instead of really seeing it for what it is. So here you go when technology gets it wrong.
One's called G. Schmitz. This one's handled by G. Schmitz.
My bad. I don't know why you was.
We get on that ramp, we get to stop traffic on 36 eastbound.
Hello, sir. Can you come out to me, please? Sure. Yes. Is it just you and the wife? Yeah. Come on, please, for me. Both of us? Both of them. Yep. Yep. Are you armed at all? No. No. Okay. Is this your car?
It's complicated. Can I explain it?
You can explain it. Yes.
I'm an automotive journalist.
Okay.
So I'm the director of content and product for the Drive.com. So I have a different car every day. I have, you know, I have no one in the car. Okay. I have paperwork that I can show you that I drive this for the week.
Okay.
It's owned by Jaguar Land Rover. If you run the plates, it's owned by Jaguar Land Rover. They own it. And I have it till...
Where's the car from?
It's registered in Jersey.
Okay.
Because the company is registered in Jersey for U.S.
Okay.
If I can get my phone. Can I get my phone?
Yeah, you can get your phone. Yep.
Drive.com?
Yep. What's the Drive?
It's an automotive media website. That's me right there, director of content and product.com.
Okay.
So I
write. Do you have your ID?
Yeah, of course. In my back pocket?
Absolutely.
So I fly around the world and write about cars. I have a different car every week. I have a Jeep Cherokee coming on Monday.
Where'd you get this car from?
So there's two fleets out of Chicago. Okay. One's called Drive Shop, one's called G. Schmitz. This one's handled by G. Schmitz. Both automakers basically split down the middle, and they give cars to the fleets, their fleet management companies. They have a list of journalists that are allowed to approve to have their car, and then I have a different car literally every Monday, swap into a car, and I fly around the world and write about cars.
Okay.
It sounds ridiculous, I know.
All right.
I compete with Car and Driver, Motor Trend, etc.
What's the process here? You just received the car and that's it?
Monday morning they dropped off the car last week, and then I have the car for the week. I take photos, videos, take notes. Car on Monday, and then next Monday. Tomorrow's Monday. Today's Sunday.
What about the license plate?
The license plate stays with the car.
Stays with the car?
Yeah, there's paperwork in the glove box that says this car is registered, and I'm a journalist.
Do you mind if we take a look at that?
Sure. Can I get it?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's nothing in the car. No other people in the car.
Okay. Okay.
Hey.
Can you run the VIN? Thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So,
I gotta tell you this at first. How come I'm getting?
Yeah, the reason you have 4 cops here is because your license plate is registered as stolen license plates in our system.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm not joking about it. Yeah.
Wow, this is the first. Okay. Here's the window sticker for the car.
Perfect.
With the VIN.
Okay.
I can call the fleet and have you talk to them. I don't know what else I got in here.
Okay.
This is not my car. 100% not my car.
Right.
I can get the loan document if you'd like that says that I have this car for a week. Would you like that?
Sure, yeah.
It's digital.
Let's take a look at everything.
Sure. It's digital.
Okay.
Can I end up taking photos? This is a story. This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is the most crazy thing I've had. 15 years doing this job. I've never had this. This is insane.
Right.
Hang on. Let me find. I usually store them because why would I save them? This is for the Jeep Cherokee. G. Schmitz. Here's this. This is for the Rover. It's going to be expired. I'm going to have to send a new link. Hang on.
Okay.
Maybe the last couple days.
Okay. So, again, in summary, you work for the company called The Fleet?
No. Sorry. So, I work for the Drive.com, which is owned by a parent company called Recurrent Ventures.
Recurrent Ventures.
They own the Drive.com. They own Donut Media. They own the War Zone. A bunch of websites.
Drive.com is their review website.
It's a car and Driver, Motor Trend. I'm sure you've heard of these sites. Car and Driver, Motor Trend.
No, I'm not a car guy. I'm sorry.
Okay. Motor Trend Car and
So
Driver.
you
car
review
magazines.
cars, right?
I review cars for a living. I fly around the world, review cars. I have a different car every single week. I live 2 miles from here. I grew up in St. Louis Park.
Yep. So you just got this car
Since Monday.
Since Monday.
Since Monday.
Was it dropped off here from Illinois? You said.
Yeah. So the fleet that manages this car is in Illinois, Chicago.
Yep.
They have hundreds of cars,
Right.
and their literal company runs on. Most of the money is made from events, not journalists, but journalists is part of the deal. So, you know, like the Emmys, they deliver all the cars to the Emmys, or they're making an event, right? Here, this is the loan agreement. I don't know how to, so this is all the terms and agreements. Says I can't drive more than 500 miles because it's a very expensive car. They don't want to appreciate it, whatever. But this is the legal document that says I'm allowed to have this, and the dates are on here, Monday to Monday, and all that stuff.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Do you mind hanging out with my partner here? I'm gonna first.
Can I get my wallet?
Yes.
Is my wife? Where's my wife?
She's with the other officer right now. You're not free to leave, but you're not under arrest. So just if you.
I'm not trying to leave. I just.
No.
Well, that was crazy. And here is more on that story, because I mean, people should be I don't want to say like shocked or surprised or anything, because as we know, technology is always probably going to get this shit wrong. But it's just crazy that it didn't happen to a black man, but somebody that was actually white, law abiding, and made to really have to show that he did nothing illegal. And that to me is, why should you have to prove that you did nothing illegal, that you did nothing right, all because of some kind of program said that you had done wrong? So I hope that this man does sue, because I do hope that things do change. And this kind of could have went bad, especially if it was a black person.
Years doing this job, I've never had this. This is insane.
Tense confrontation for an automotive journalist in a West Metro parking lot. Police believed the car he was driving was stolen. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Derek James. Officers say the plate was flagged by license plate readers called flock cameras. Flock says they operate in 49 states and partner with over 5,000 law enforcement agencies. Ashley Grams breaks down why this confrontation happened and the man's questions about the surveillance technology.
Hello, sir. Can you come out to me, please?
While running errands in Plymouth, Minnesota back in June, Joel Fetter's day took a turn when Plymouth police stopped him and his wife in the Kohl's parking lot.
Are you armed at all? No. Okay, is this your car?
It's complicated. Can I explain it?
You can explain it, yes.
As an automotive reporter, part of his job is trying out cars, just like he was in this video when he was behind the wheel of the Range Rover.
Looked in the rearview mirror and I saw 2 cop cars coming at the right side with the lights lit and sirens going. I'm like, what the heck? And then I looked to my left through the glass. There's 2 more cop cars doing the same.
He explained the situation to the officers, asking why he was stopped in the first place.
The reason you have 4 cops here is because your license plate is registered as stolen license plates in our system.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm not joking about it. Yeah.
Wow, this is the first.
Officers said the car was flagged by flock cameras 2 times over the course of a few days.
That's why Flock has been reading it.
In a statement to WCCO, the Plymouth police chief said officers ultimately discovered that when the license plate was reported as stolen in California on June 24th, it was improperly entered in the National Crime Information Center database with incomplete numbers.
So the plate I had 2 big numbers, 2 little numbers, and then 3 big characters. So it was 3410 DTM. And the plate that was in the system is lost was 34 DTM, no small number.
A spokesperson for Flock said they take incidents like this seriously and are looking closely at what happened, adding situations like this are rare. That said, an alert should be one part of an investigation, not the whole basis for a stop. Fetter said the mistake put him and his wife into a very real confrontation.
How many misreads are happening a month? What is the accuracy rate?
His experience fueling more questions about the surveillance technology.
Part of it is definitely the flock cameras and the tracking technology, how the technology is being used. I think another part of it is the guardrails. What laws are in place? Right. What guardrails are in place? How did this happen?
Ashley Grams, WCCO News. And Joel says the officers told him to park the car, stop driving it around the metro area until this mistake got sorted out. They said he could get pulled over by a different police department in a different city who might also think that this was stolen.
Yeah, and you wouldn't want to go through that twice.
Definitely not.
Like, why couldn't they correct it? That's the, like, when they found that it was not true. I don't understand that. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, because this to me is probably, I don't know, a lot of things. I'm going to do more on this, right? But as you can see, these Hispanic Latino men were all labeled as white men. And it's kind of crazy, actually, but when you look at it, when you bring it up and actually dig into it, you can see that it comes from bad policy, right? No one is actually auditing the data, POC, race, ethnicity fields, which are rarely checked for accuracy. And once entered, they persist for years or decades. Bad data stays bad. That's just something that needs to be corrected by our so-called elected officials. We need to look at the policies. I did look this up this morning too about why is that something that they do, and why is that? So if the way that I had it was explained to me is because race and ethnicity in many correctional databases are not self-reported, not verified, and often entered by staff using outdated or inconsistent classification rules, which produces garbage data that looks like falsification, even when it's just really bad bureaucracy. Why this happens, the actual mechanisms behind the mismatch. The pattern noticed is Hispanic individuals labeled white is extremely common in the U.S. criminal justice databases. It usually comes from one or more of these factors. Race categories are federally defined and flawed. The federal system, the OMB standards, forces agency to classify Hispanic as an ethnicity, not a race. So staff must choose race, white, black, Asian, native, other, ethnicity, Hispanic, non-Hispanic, unknown. This means a person who identifies as Afro-Latino, ingenuous Latino, or just Latino get shoved into white Hispanic by default. This isn't a conspiracy. It's a rigid federal form. Officer entered data instead of self-reported identity. Most DOC systems do not ask inmates to self-identify, instead make staff choose a race based on appearance, surname, assumptions, whatever box they've always checked. This creates systemic misclassification. Legacy database rules. Many state systems, including New Jersey DOC, were built decades ago. Their races often don't allow Latino as a race. Default to white if ethnicity is Hispanic. Autofill based on old intake codes never get updated, even if the inmate corrects it. So the system keeps reproducing the same flawed categories. Statistical incentives, but subtle ones. This is where my question gets sharper. There are institutional incentives that make misclassification convenient. Crime stats look different if Hispanic is not counted as a race. Racial disparity reports can appear less severe. Funding and oversight metrics sometimes depend on racial breakdowns. Political narratives about crime and race can be influenced by how categories are designed. This doesn't require an intentional conspiracy. The structure itself produces skewed numbers. But yes, the end result is distorted racial stats that benefit institutions by making disparities look smaller. So yeah, if we look at that, I mean, there's a bunch of reasons of why that is, and a lot of it has to do because of shit that is outdated, and we haven't updated our policies or the reforms that we're working on. We make them vague. We don't really clarify to exactly what we're talking about. We always do some mumble jumble and then we always have to go correct it later on down the line. That's just the way that I think it's been, and I think that's the way that it will continue to go on in America, because when it's time to really stand for what's right, people don't stand up for that. And to me, that is one of the biggest issues that we have. And it's a shame, because it shouldn't be that way. But there is so much to make us argue or hate each other instead of trying to actually unite. And that's the one thing that I think we do need to talk about. We do need to have a discussion about, is like, let's talk about this isms, because all it does is just divide us. It doesn't unite us, it divides us. And I think that is something that we literally really need to have a discussion on. Are we looking for unity? Because I don't think we'll ever see accountability from everybody. I don't think we'll see it from Bobby Joe. I don't think we'll see it from Jerry McAfee, Clarence Hightower. We won't ever get a clear answer. And that's because people are scared of their past. That's the one thing that I would literally love to have a conversation with Clarence about, because there was so many, I shouldn't say, there were stories about him and Major Tops. And I would love to ask him questions about that, because it was put out here that he was caught sucking some dick. And how you a pastor and you out here fucking other guys? Like, that's weird to me. But when you look at some of the pastors in Minnesota, or especially in Minneapolis, are part of the LGBTQ community, then it makes sense, because they're never going to bite the hand that feeds them. I know that went over you motherfuckers' heads and really wasn't really supposed to, but it did. As I don't think a lot of people understand that. And a lot of people just think that it's right because so many people are doing it, and there's so many people standing on that side of it, and there's only one person being extra really loud about it. But because it's only that one person, they think that he's in the wrong, and not really the people that they're standing with, or think that they're allies with, who are standing for wrong, but they're actually telling people that it's right. And we need to get rid of that. I think that's another thing that hurts the Black communities in America, is the fact that we don't want to really break down the difference between a Nigerian, an Ethiopian, a Somalian, somebody Ghana. They don't ever want to have that discussion. But that is a whole different type of culture. It's a whole different type of history, different type of culture. Everything is different. So just because you call it Black, they have an ethnicity. And the fact that y'all don't want to really wrap your heads around that, the fact that Black American can be race and an ethnicity, and we are the only population in America that can do both. So with that being said, I'll be back Wednesday, same time, same place. We're going to talk about more about Dr. Claude Anderson, part 2 of Broken Promises. Not Broken Promises. Well, I'm going to call it that, Broken Promises and Opportunities. So come back for that. I'm going to get up out of here. Here you go with Rashad Lee going up. And I will see y'all Wednesday, same time, same place. Peace out.
They try to count a nigga out, I'm on the right track. I went to war with the devil, nigga, I'm like that. I ain't fucking with you niggas, sick of all your lying ass. I've been in the kitchen cooking niggas like a frying pan. I don't give a fuck, this for my north side niggas in the slums. This one for my south side niggas, throw it up. This one for my east side niggas going dumb. This one for my west side niggas going up. Cause bitch, we going up. Bitch, we going up. The People been waiting, I took my time though. Peep the state of the game and nigga, my mind blown. I took a trip out the city, I'm skipping time zones. They try to knock a motherfucker, but my grind strong. Now I got love for my city, a nigga stayed on every side of this bitch. Everything I'm claiming to be, I got reside in this bitch. I represent for my niggas, the fucking birds and the sticks. Was never nothing but myself, gotta be proud of that shit. I know they really wanna hear a nigga kill shit. 45 chrome up in a steel grip. I just take care of my babies, I'm on some chill shit. And only hang with